happy to read you this excerpt from chapter 11, when Liz and Rick went up to Cornell to learn about the grapes. And it was true that Cornell's Extension Service was doing an experiment with French American hybrid grapes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So, and they were going to learn about it. So, okay. In the humid greenhouse, Liz stood next to Rick, a very sleepy Noah on her hip, and listened to the man speak about why they should seriously consider joining Cornell's experiment. And our Seyval Blanc grapes produce good sugar. It has the perfect acid balance to make a fine wine, he said. Liz shifted the drowsy boy to her other hip and drew in a deep breath, as if she already smelled the heady scent. She gazed out the large glass walls across from her. Fluffy white snow covered the hills of upstate New York, and Liz imagined their own hillside, just before harvest, with rows of grapevines filled with plump, luscious fruit. If only she could call her dad right now and shout out the news. I'm going to grow grapes, French American hybrid grapes. A smile spread across her cheeks. Maybe now he'll be proud of me. Rick, with his hand firm on Bethany, who was shuffling her feet and swaying side to side, turned toward his wife. Hold on, he said, his tall, lean frame intimidating. I know we want to do this, but we've got to be able to sell the fruit. And you said you didn't want to sell anything. She bit the inside of her cheek, then looked him directly in the eye. This is different, she said, enunciating each word. We're not taking these grapes to farmers' markets or setting up a stand on the corner selling them like lemonade. Clutching her toddler to her chest, she stepped toward the window, closer to her fantasy vineyard, then turned to Rick. I'm sure there are winemakers that'll buy them. We will be the only ones in the valley participating in the experiment. And who knows, maybe we'll make a little wine ourselves. Oh, he chuckled. It sounded like dry dirt where flowers would never grow. So you don't have time to can vegetables because you worked so hard at that nursery school, and now you're willing to make wine? He looked down at his daughter, who was twirling her foot, watching her red keds go round and round. Mommy doesn't have the faintest idea how to begin making wine, he said. Isn't that funny? Liz narrowed her eyes. The high spirit she'd had a moment ago dissolved. The air in the greenhouse was much warmer than Rick's tone, no matter how he tried to lighten it with that little glint in his eye. And making fun of her with their daughter? Her stomach nodded. She and Rick had discussed the idea of growing grapes after they'd called Cornell's Extension Service, before making the long ride to Geneva. They were in agreement, or so she believed, no longer arguing about apples or pumpkins or what to plant on their acreage. So what's with the sarcasm?
Oh, I love that part. It brought back so many feelings already, like from hearing it through the audiobook, from reading it already. I have so much empathy for Liz. Like, she always seems to be needing that, reassurance from her dad, but I feel like I get the feeling he already loves her so much, and it's like she just doesn't see it.
She never felt, she couldn't feel it because she was so guilty about dropping out of college and to get married, which he didn't want her to do. And she knew her mother, who's deceased, didn't want her to do that, wouldn't have wanted her to do that. And then the marriage fails. So she felt so guilty. She just desperately wanted his approval.
Yeah.
But I loved writing the father. I love the father.
He's such a sweet character.
Yeah.
I love the parts where the father's in it. It's so great. And another thing in that excerpt, it just made me kind of get that vision of like that saying, something about like when you get thrown stone at you and you use it to build up your empire kind of thing. Like those, I could feel those little stones he's throwing at her, and it just strengthens her in the end, I think. Yeah. I love that. That was a great excerpt.